of Yellow University. Oh, and I see Bryson has connected as well. So our today's topic revolves around decentralized finance, centralized and decentralized exchanges, crypto trading. I'll let our guests introduce themselves. So we have a launch block team here. Guys, feel free to say a couple of words about you.
Hey guys, yeah. So obviously I'm one of the head of the DAO at launchblock.com, a decentralized launchpad and incubator where we help raise funds and digital asset raises for NFTs and tokens. Also previously founded a company called howdoi.com, which Bryson is also the co-founder of, and also Travala.com, the travel booking marketplace that accepts multiple different cryptocurrencies.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey guys, as Matt mentioned, one of the co-founders of howdoi.com, multi-chain NFT marketplace, and also a DAO member at Launchblock. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. We also have representatives of the Yellow Network. I want to mention that we were supposed to have a guest from 5wire, but unfortunately she was unable to join. But Vanya and Alexander, please say hi to our viewers.
Yeah, hello once again. It's a pleasure to see you every week, and let's hope for a good conversation today.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. Alexander here, product manager of Yellow Network. Nice to be here.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's just jump into it. So as announced before, we're going to be talking about DeFi, centralized, decentralized exchanges, and crypto trading. So everyone, you can feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will answer them as we go. Let me start with a very simple question. So how would you explain decentralized finance in very simple terms?
Do you want me to answer that, or?
Yeah, sure. So just you can take a word whenever you feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I guess my perspective, decentralized finance really is allowing users to access their own funds, no matter how much or how little it is, at any given moment in time, and allow them to actually earn from that, or use it however they want and in whatever aspects of their life they want. And that would be how I see it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and from my side, guys, very, very similar to Matt. It's obviously that accessibility for the user and having the option to do whatever they want with them funds as and when, and obviously the security as well.
Completely agree with guys. This concept of ownership, that user controls kind of own funds and can take decision, is kind of a key in the DeFi or DEX world.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Vanya, anything to add?
Actually, nothing. Not that much to add here. Just we can say that decentralized finance is kind of the same in many ways, but the key factor it is that basically the layer of high management is absent here. So basically, you're your own manager for each asset which you own. Basically, the layer of high management.
Okay. Okay, sure. Thanks a lot. So what do you think is the best or the easiest to comprehend use case of DeFi? So if we're talking about just a regular person out there, maybe in the country with not the greatest economy, so how can they utilize decentralized finance nowadays? And maybe there are some obstacles that still prevent them from doing that.
Yeah, I think obviously the only obstacles right now in those sort of countries where it might be difficult to sort of purchase crypto, or there might be regulation in place, or there might be restrictions in place from the specific countries of buying crypto, that would be the biggest issue of getting involved in it. from that, I mean, we were mentioning the words of decentralization and the ability for people to, access the funds wherever they are and do anything they want. The products are there that enable them to do that already. So it's more a case of, as long as they can onboard into the crypto space and purchase crypto, then there's no reason why they can't take part in decentralized protocols, decentralized earning or lending platforms, and different things like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with Matt. Obviously, the biggest thing there being regulation. Also, I guess something that not many people really think about, but it is the accessibility to products that actually allow us to access these things. So obviously, having the ability to have a phone, a laptop, etc. Obviously, I guess a lot of us take it for granted, but it's actually having them products as well. But I suppose they are the two key factors. Obviously, regulation and having the accessibility to the things that are needed to actually access DeFi in the first place.
Actually, so you both mentioned regulations, but at the same time, DeFi is seen as something without borders. So how can regulations affect whether users can access DeFi protocols or DeFi apps in different countries?
Well, I was more so referring to the onboarding of, moving potentially like fiat currency into cryptocurrency. That might cause the difficult part for them in certain jurisdictions based on regulation. Actually, once they hold crypto, let's just take Ethereum for an example, they can then participate in DeFi lending platforms or protocols wherever they are in the world. So that initial onboarding is the difficult part. Once they're onboarded, the world's their oyster.
Okay, thanks a lot. Vanya, Alexander, any thoughts?
Like, let's say any DeFi protocol, let's say it's in a common sense, it's a bunch of use cases which are related and connected between each other, right? And as soon as it's based on the blockchain technology, which is not like granted for usage for financial sphere, right? It's highly dependent on it. So basically, blockchain is a technical solution for any kind of DeFi projects. As soon as they vary, they may use different blockchains. So basically, here one of the bottlenecks is the accessibility to this blockchain. So basically, as soon as the blockchain, for example, some kind of Solana goes offline, your DeFi protocol is not working properly. So yeah.
If to talk about kind of general use cases, I think that money market like Compound or Ava is more interesting for mass market, as you can get trustless product and you can keep your money there. Of course, there is some turbulence on the market when we have different attacks, but projects like MakerDAO, like Compound, like Aave, they are showing how they can adjust to different risks. So of course you can run for kind of high APY, or you just kind of want to earn everything during the next day. But if you go kind of wise, there is always major projects that proposing nice use cases that can kind of still safely hold your funds and giving your benefits of using such services like DeFi products.
That's actually a very good answer. So DeFi was booming in 2020, and Alexander, you mentioned like various negative market conditions or events that happen in the crypto space. Like, guys, do you think that DeFi has proven itself like already as a strong enough ecosystem to withstand like prolonged crypto winter or any sort of negative events? Because obviously there was a lot of mistrust, and there is right now as well mistrust into any DeFi projects, as we were seeing like major crypto companies fall even during 2022. So how do you see things moving forward, and whether, again, DeFi is strong enough to withstand any major troubles, so to speak?
It's actually very interesting, like this topic of sustainability during different harsh conditions on the market. actually, I'm really fascinating to follow all the attacks, all the vectors, how the projects protecting themselves, because in such conditions we are seeing how probably the future of decentralized finance is building. So I think that we really need all those challenges to become really a stable and good environment where people can join, or where people can be safely storing or interacting with their funds. So market kind of turbulence and all these attacks is things that making us stronger and kind of moving this industry forward, making it more sustainable in long-term vision.
Just to add to Sasha's idea, unfortunately, a very low percentage of the people has, this kind of technical capabilities and technical expertise to review smart contracts or to review any code base, right? So a majority of the people, how do they get some kind of into the DeFi? How do they get this initial push? They just see the experience of the other people. It's the way how it looks like. So basically, the mass adoption goes in a step with the adoption of the DeFi. And the unfortunate part here is that, of course, there are some kind of fraudulent projects. Some of the projects had some kind of backdoors, which basically led to the exit of the liquidity from projects and etc. So we're in this, in this kind of state where this sphere is still young enough not to be developed properly, but still there are some kind of, let's say, a couple of positive ways of improvements, which some of the projects follow. That's why DeFi is a real thing now. So yeah, this kind of quote, like, do your own research, is really common for many years, but it makes much more sense from the day to day.
Yeah, that really makes sense. Matt, Bryson, what do you think about the sustainability of DeFi and the dangers that it might be facing in the prolonged crypto winter?
Yeah, I'd just reiterate what the rest of the guys said. Really, just got to do your own research and make sure it's applicable. No one can really say do this, do that. Things go wrong in certain places at different times for many different reasons. So it's just about doing your own research and making sure you're comfortable with where your funds are.
Do you feel that there's some major problems that many DeFi projects have? We're really stressing that it's very important for users to look into details and try to educate themselves on DeFi. Actually, Yellow University can help you with that. But maybe there's something that needs to be slightly different from business standpoint, for DeFi project founders to do things differently, so they're easier to use, easier to implement, easier to have them reach ordinary users.
Potentially a little bit of a difficult question, really, because you're kind of touching into an unregulated market where nobody wants to be regulated, and the answer to your question really would be to be regulated by somebody to make sure it's all safe and secure and whatnot. However, the market really isn't like that. So that side of it is kind of difficult, I guess. But then as long as people have done enough research, know who the team are, they've got a good background, they're not going to run away with the money, essentially. The code's audited regularly, any updates are audited, that sort of thing. Those are the key things that I would look out for anyway when I'm looking into if I'm going to enter into a DeFi protocol. If those things don't meet the criteria and there's any red flags, then simply just don't enter it. And like what you mentioned, obviously, you guys at Yellow University are providing a lot of content and a lot of information. And I'm sure that you can help out with, providing users and the onboarding process for people to access these DeFi protocols in different areas.
Yeah, so it seems like it's basically a question of whether we should trust the code, which actually doesn't need any trust, or we should trust some sort of entities that would be regulating the space. It's kind of interesting. Vanya, Alexandra, any thoughts?
Agree that we shouldn't trust just code, but we should do our own research to check if there are already projects that faced issue and they are still live. because lots of them kind of gone because of weak code or different weaknesses in their architecture, but some projects just overcoming that and improving. So we will not have ideal product from the beginning, so it's evolution, and we just need to follow and check what is suitable for us, or what is kind of still at early stages. We are not advising kind of to use specific DeFi products or DeFi solutions. We're just advising to research technologies to understand use cases and how potentially you can use them to benefit for your own, maybe for your project, maybe for your financial stuff. But it's just a research part that you need to do on your side. But blindly doing some investments or blindly using them for your products is not the best way to utilize DeFi at this stage.
What are the things that you would advise to check for users before they choose certain DeFi projects to use? What could be the red flags, so to speak?
First of all, I would advise them to research competitors of specific product and find the weaknesses, maybe potential attacks that was made on specific network, and to check if it's possible to do the same, is there the same concept if they haven't patched this vulnerability or something like this. And of course, checking the trustability of the team, checking kind of the backers of a specific product. There is a lot of factors that can potentially be a red flag for you. Should you invest, or you should kind of be kind of standing alone from that project? Team, idea, project, what's really going on inside, how healthy the community. But generally, I would advise just to follow the major project, research their previous failure, and learn from it. It will just open for you different idea and perspectives how DeFi project can be threatened and how you can potentially protect yourself, learning from previous mistakes. So always when you go into something new, you're joining new DeFi project, or you just want to try what is that, better to do research how this project survived till this time, I would say.
Yeah. No, I'd add to that as well. Obviously, all the points that Alexander said are completely, correct from my viewpoint. I think that one of the biggest things there would definitely be the team. Obviously, doing your own research, looking into the team, their history, what they've done in the past. For me, that's a key factor when, regardless of if it's DeFi or any other project in the space, but looking into the team and also the community, like you did mention then, that's always a good factor, because you do see a lot of projects nowadays who, have a lot of, you could call it a fake community, where it's just all false engagement, paid retweets, etc. So, looking into that and making sure you do your own research is key, I think.
Once again, I don't want to duplicate our colleagues' ideas, but the key here is that deploying smart contract is a 10-minute of work, right? So people have to understand that there's high possibility that not every project is really valuable, right? So just from my own perspective, what can I say? Once again, not a financial advice, but there is good stuff to review in the project. Just try to imagine there is no any trading pair to this specific currency, and there will never be. Just try to understand, is there any specific utility for this use case? And does this token make sense, even if it's not, for example, traded towards BTC or USDT or etc.? So what do I mean here? That there were thousands of projects, right? And they're every day there are more new of them. But in reality, some of them are dying. And they're dying just because they're not matching actually the current customer needs. So basically, you have to understand what does the community really needs right now, how you understand it. And when you're trying to review the project, you just have to understand, does this utility match with this token or not? So does it actually make sense or not? And after that, you can like review some kind of smaller and maybe less valuable details. Like, for example, you can review the supply. In case, for example, the token creator has 95 or 99% of the supply, it's kind of suspicious. Then you can like review GitHub. If you can see that, for example, there were no any kind of GitHub updates for the past 4 months, it's also some kind of tricky, suspicious thing. Yeah, but the main thing, you have to understand the main utility of the token. In case it's only valuable just because it's maybe traded and can be manipulated on the market, I just keep for it. Yeah. Once again, not financial advice.
Yeah, of course. Nothing of that is a financial advice. It's just educational purposes conversation. So, Matt, I believe LaunchBlock does partner with some DeFi projects. Do you have like some checkbox that you go through while choosing who to partner with?
Yeah, we just make sure, obviously, the connections with the team have been there for quite some time. We work with people on more longevity than obviously like short-term things. So really having that relationship with the project team is quite important. Alongside making sure like they're audited, making sure they have regular audits in place, making sure that there's never been any red flags in multiple different areas, from social or personal or all different areas within what we sort of do as part of our due diligence process. And that's how basically we work with LaunchBot. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. Let me mention one of the questions that was asked in the chat. So how do you think DeFi and crypto in general will evolve in the coming years, and what impact, in your opinion, it will have on traditional financial system? Actually, this is a great topic: DeFi versus TradFi, and how they will like evolve in the coming years.
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see a crossover, a big crossover from big institutional investors starting to come into the works, and we've already started to see it. I think it was it JP Morgan or Goldman maybe in Singapore used a crypto trading thing to move into some DeFi stuff. So I feel like it's going to the ball started to roll now, and over the next 4 years, moving into the next bull cycle, I really think that it'll escalate to quite a high level, especially with all the attention that Bitcoin's got over the last 2 years. Everyone knows about crypto now. It's really going to be starting to see the time of like big institutional investors start to come into play and have the ability to onboard as well in regulated jurisdictions, which they need to be able to onboard into crypto, like we mentioned earlier, and then obviously move into DeFi and different protocols like that. So I just think it's going to advance and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think that in time, the DeFi stuff and crypto should be kind of more mature, and I hope the quality of code also will increase. I already see that institutional using top DeFi projects, for example, money market like Compound and other stuff. Right now they're using more in experimental way, but I think in years it will be kind of a new separate area for classic financial institution to propose some services, but without any technical limitation. So other mass market will be able to access those DeFi stuff, but through more familiar interfaces, just depositing something to bank, selecting your financial product and using under the hood actually DeFi stuff. The key point here for mass adoption for the DeFi from the financial institutions is, of course, security. If we can guarantee that we can be sustainable with the code, we can overcome other kind of security attacks, can protect ourselves as the decentralized community, I think it will be the main trigger for adoption of institutional players.
That's a great thing you mentioned about more familiar interfaces and having DeFi protocols under the hood. This is actually the point that was made on our previous live sessions when answering the question about what prevents crypto from going mainstream, or like what could help the mass adoption. the answer in both cases was that users need to have like some simple tools, but they might not even know that underneath there are some blockchain technology. So with that said, let us, if you have any comments, feel free to comment. Well, with that said, let's move more into the centralized and decentralized exchanges. So what do you think are the key, like, how would you explain the, like, 2-3 key differences between centralized and decentralized exchanges? And what should users look, like, what should users use, or what is better to use depending on different needs of crypto users?
Yeah, so I think from my point of view, the difference between decentralized exchange and centralized exchange is essentially whether a team who's launched a token has put liquidity into a market initially, and also has the community grown the liquidity pools on a decentralized exchange to allow it to have that liquid trading aspect through an automated market maker. Now, using a centralized exchange, in my opinion, is better. The user bases are on the centralized exchanges already. It allows a project to grow more, although the on-chain data won't reflect what happens on a centralized exchange. If there's a lot of users there, then it allows the project to grow and scale tremendously faster. Uniswap is great, and the whole process behind Uniswap over the past 12 months was cool, but also you've seen a hell of a lot more scams happen there, because people can perform rug pulls, people can perform so many different things, and there's no control over that market. Again, we are touching on the control aspects and stuff, but making sure when we're talking about exchanges and stuff and talking about buying tokens from exchanges, this is not a DeFi protocol, this is risk. So reducing risk means go to a centralized exchange, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That it depends on your needs. Of course, if you're kind of professional trader or you're using both, centralized exchanges is your choice. But if you're just a retail user and you really your top priority is fund safety, probably you should be trying something like DeFi stuff, Uniswap or like this, but still you need to be sure that you are using correct market pairs, as some market pairs can be fake, and when you swap, you never can do swap back. So all those things depends on your priorities. For example, when you're trading DeFi in DEX exchanges, you can have front running, and you can even not notice that someone front ran you and you paid actually more than you expected at the beginning. In classic financial system, yeah, of course we have HFT trading, but it's kind of less common right now than we have it in crypto. So based on your needs and your priorities, you can select if you go with centralized or decentralized trading.
Yeah, great point, Alexander. Obviously, I think what both the guys have just said is absolutely on point. Nothing else majorly to add. Obviously, I guess one major point would actually be the accessibility. Obviously, we all know certain exchanges can't operate in certain countries, so it's having that access to the exchanges in itself. So I guess that's really my only other point. All the points were pretty much covered by the guys.
Yeah, and actually, I think additional point for DEXs is the diversity, the number of tokens that you can access. For centralized exchanges, it's a bit longer process to do due diligence, to do listing, to prepare everything. But right now, I would say that the DeFi market proposes much more assets, and you can have kind of almost instant access without need to register, without need to go through the KYC processes. So, of course, it's a question of priority. What is your target here?
Yeah, once again, let me mention that nothing of the said above or what is to follow is a financial advice, and we urge everyone to do their research, check the team, check the documentation before you make any financial decisions. And with that said, let me ask you one more question from the community. So what is the most important thing you need to be careful when starting to trade with a decentralized exchange?
Oh, I can say, first of all, you have to check the smart contract address, because there are a lot of fraudulent smart contracts which are trying to duplicate the token ticker or the token logo. I believe even like less than a year ago, there were maybe 40 or some such Ethereum versions, something close to more than 100 of different Bitcoins, and many people are trying to do this kind of simple scams when you're just simply inattentive and you just lose your funds.
Yeah, the best kind of way to learn is to have own failures. Actually, I had the case when I traded a token, and actually it was a fake token, and I started to doing my own research, like digging into smart contracts, into transaction, and I found out that it was a huge network of scammers that are faking tokens, and I kind of research the whole path, where they come from, how they collect money. So the best approach here, when you do kind of first test trading, is to start with small amounts that you can afford to lose. So whenever you're starting something new in crypto, start with something that you can afford to lose. But of course,
I guess
yeah.
The only question here is, when you were uncovering that scammer scheme, did you manage to make money or did you lose money?
Of course I lose. But it's just kind of more interesting for you to do kind of own research, how it's possible, what are the tricks they use actually to fool people. And when you know lots of why I advise to do research of different attacks, of different failures, because the more you know, the more you can do due diligence when you're researching new project. So whenever I starting researching a new stuff, I already know where to look, what is our red flags, and it helps a lot me kind of investigating. If you don't do such researches, if you think that it's a friendly environment that's welcoming every newcomer, no, you're wrong. You need to be prepared. You need to fight for your money if you want to be kind of good in this area.
We can also add here, sorry for interruption, like the question was about DEX. So as soon as a person is using decentralized exchange, please be sure that your private key is safe. It's not written in a very easy to access format. Try to maybe encode it in some way, or try to mix the words, in the order, and don't lose your private key.
Great advice. So I'm actually just coming from a couple of crypto events that were here in Thailand. And yesterday one had a couple of people talking about DeFi, centralized exchanges. And there were like a couple of projects that would say that we don't even want to be like listed on centralized exchanges, because we believe that like crypto and it should be accessible to everyone. So they would like prefer decentralized ones much more. So with that happening, do you think do you see centralized exchanges like losing their power in the upcoming years, especially with many players like actually going out of the game for various reasons?
Look, I think that decentralized exchanges have the mass user bases. If people are that arrogant to say, oh, no, we don't need that, then great. But they're just causing stagnation in their own growth. Centralized exchanges have the power to list any token anyway. If it has the traction, they'll capitalize on it. So it's kind of like a false negative, really. If somebody was to say, oh, I don't want to be involved in them, blah, 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 then they are just stagnating their growth. And at the end of the day, the centralized exchange, if they do get big enough, could just list them anyway. So it's one of them. Might as well be involved in it and engage with it, rather than, push against it in the industry, because it is the biggest access route for the majority of users, and the majority of new users that come to the space will typically go to a centralized exchange first.
Very valid
Yeah.
point. Thanks a lot, Alexander. Please.
Yeah, I agree that centralized exchanges proposing much kind of wider audience, and again, it's a question of adoption. So if you want to have more users trading your token, knowing about it, it's always better to be present on centralized exchanges. You kind of self-limiting yourself if you're putting your token only at DEXs. And I don't think that it will be a trouble for centralized exchanges. They can easily adjust, they can create own services or own layers. You see, every staking opportunity that appears on DEXs actually proposed on centralized exchanges, but they just charging additional percentage. So the users that are not users that are not comfortable using staking directly on specific blockchain, they can go to centralized exchange and utilize all those services. The same with the listing stuff. So centralized exchanges can kind of adjust list.
So with the FTX crash and again many other centralized problems having getting in trouble, how do you see like big players or players that want to grow their market share adjusting? So Alexander, you mentioned that centralized exchanges can adjust. So how do you think they will do this? Like what will change in the way they work? How will they react to the recent events? Like obviously there was revealing reserves, which is quite positive, but should we expect anything else coming?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you can move on, or I can move on if you want.
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, so first of all, those proof of reserves, those Merkle trees, these things actually don't make that much sense without the exchanges displaying all their tables of liabilities. Because the fact that I have this in this amount is not like enough in this case. And about the question about growing the, let's say, sharing of, growing the share of the centralized exchange, it's not like the most actual question right now, because first of all, they have to save, they have to not to lose what they already have right now, because absolutely high risk of panic, high risk of scare on the market right now, and people are are just trying to think, where is the transparency? Because like the biggest issue with FTX, it was the absence of that transparency, which has led to the move of the assets to the Alameda, right? And then they're like ongoing like futures trading, like margin trading, billions of losses, and etc. Could it be real thing with a real transparent managing system or some kind of transparent audit, which do some kind of continuous process? No, we don't have this kind of procedures right now. That's why we lost that kind of this huge amount of assets on that kind of exchange. So just in my opinion, that in the nearest future, we're going to see very, very radical, I think, some kind of control ways of increase some kind of juridical aspects of the centralized exchanges. And it's not that it will be demanded by the countries. The exchanges will do it themselves just to increase this kind of, trustability and the transparency of their own system. So more and more people, especially in their head management, are trying to understand right now that it's the key value. As soon as you provide the transparent and like really reliable solution, people will come to you by themselves. Crypto community is like kind of specific. You don't have to persuade them to do something. Everyone understands what he has to do and everyone makes his own decision. So basically, they have to provide the right environment for this. I mean them, I mean the chief directors of the centralized exchanges.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Alexander, go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add on Vanya's point. Obviously, with the transparency, in my opinion, I think that's completely key. Obviously, we mentioned the reserves that's been published, which is great. And to be honest, a lot of retail investors or people who are just getting into crypto, they might not think too much on, for example, the liabilities information that Vanya mentioned. They may see this information that they've published with the reserves and think, okay, that's great, and not think too much about what else there might be that they actually have to reveal to make it fully transparent. So it is very much down to, for me, the complete transparency of each individual exchange, you could say.
Yeah. Also, I can add that probably the trigger here is the business players, not just retail users, because lots of business players are losing their money interacting with such big institutionals like FTX was. So I think they will require more transparency, at least for themselves to protect, because they are moving lots of money, like hundreds of millions, billions, and they want to be sure that it's treated correctly without some shady manipulation with the funds. So I think there is not retail much kind of trigger. It's more institutional or business side that will push for transparency those big players.
Okay, thank you so much. About big centralized exchanges. So following the FTX crash and all the prosecutions that are still ongoing, I think there were like a few articles actually mentioning like some groups between centralized exchange owners. Like, do you think that there can be like some, I don't want to say conspiracy, but some like organized efforts between the centralized exchange groups that can affect crypto market?
It's very funny that you mentioned it, because if I'm correct, 100% it was Sam there, it was CZ, and maybe Justin Sun, and maybe some of the others. And the name of this chat was like Exchange Cooperation Chat. It's like manipulation chat with the boys, something like this. Yeah, of course, it sounds tricky, it sounds suspicious, and I think every one of us was like, oh, I want to read the whole history chat of this chat. But
but probably we will never know
yeah.
what was there.
Yeah, I think it was like auto-delayed for 1 week there, but even the leftovers from that week, which was not delayed, was like already enough for the community to try to speculate about this news. Yeah, completely, it's out of sense for me. Especially, like every time when I wake up and I see some kind of very suspicious token which got like plus 200% to this to its PNL like in 24 hours, and it's like all over the several exchanges. It's like, okay, I'm just not sure who did it, but it's kind of suspicious. Yeah, and after you get to know that this kind of chats like really appear, oh my god, it doesn't. It's not how it's supposed to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually know about that that group chat that you mentioned. So that's very interesting. So yeah, that's thanks for that. But it's obviously this theory idea. I'm sure people have lots of different theories throughout the space, but it is very much coming down with evidence, obviously. So yeah, there's nothing really major to add on my side from that. But it's interesting to know about the group chat, Vanya. So thanks for that.
Sure. With that said, let me ask the last question for today, and then I guess we will be wrapping up. So it's actually quite a bit of a puzzling one. So can you briefly explain what examples of crypto trading positively impacting the planet or the society, I guess? What could be your thoughts on that?
I can do it in a nutshell. Like you can just calculate how many people, how many resources you need to maintain some kind of Visa or MasterCard network, right? And just comparing to it, you can like compare, for example, with the Polygon network, which is layer 2 on Ethereum, which is like almost like completely green. And you can just compare the power consumption, the let's say the salary consumptions of the teams, and etc. And yeah, basically, as soon as you waste less energy, you have to basically get less energy, and basically in the best case scenario, it's more easier, for example, to move to the renewable energy in our planet. I'm not talking about the pollution. I'm not talking about the extra tons of this kind of paper reports by banks and other financial systems, which have this kind of still paper folders, and they go to the meetings, and every person has like 100s of pages, and it also has a very radical impact on the planet because they cut off the trees. Yeah, crypto will save the planet for sure. Maybe not everyone's assets, but it will save the planet in some cases for sure.
if to talk about kind of indirect impact, I would say that crypto is just bringing accessibility to the financial market for wider audience, and probably this access will improve life of people, probably, and it potentially can improve life of the planet. But it's not proven.
Yeah, and I suppose like just people being more aware about finance and have means to manage them is definitely a positive thing. So yeah, with that said, I think we will be wrapping up. So thank you so much, Matt and Bryson from LaunchBlock, joining us. Actually, I think that the Yellow community can be looking forward to some exciting news about the Yellow token and LaunchBlock joint event, so to speak. So please stay tuned for that, and make sure to like and comment and follow our YouTube channel. Vanya, Alexander, thank you so much for participating. See you next Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great
Cheers.
week.
Bye.
Meet you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See